To understand Islam and the Muslim world more, buy my book, The Curse of God, Why I Left Islam. Available in all your favorite online bookstores.
Alright, folks, this is Harris Sultan, the ex-Muslim atheist, and welcome to another episode of Sultan's House of Sin. The biggest news that's going around at the moment are riots in Sweden. So before I go into it, before I react to it, have a look at this little news story.
Violence broke out in the Swedish city of Malmö on Friday after members of a far-right Danish party burnt a copy of the Quran. Earlier on Friday, the leader of the far-right Danish anti-immigration party, Hardline, Rasmus Paludan, was arrested near Malmö and banned from Sweden for 2 years before he could make it to a planned event in the city. An enraged Malmö tweeted that he was sent back and banned from Sweden for 2 years. However, rapists and murderers are always welcome. The rally went on anyway with Rasmus Paludan's supporters, during which a copy of the Islamic holy book was burnt. 3 arrests have been made in connection with the incident. At least 300 protesters then hit the streets, clashed with police, throwing stones at law enforcement personnel, and burnt tires. The authorities stopped Paludan as they believed his behavior would pose a threat to society. The politician is a controversial figure, known for his vitriolic speech and provocative remarks. He has faced the law several times for racism and hate speech. Rasmus Paludan was first noticed for making anti-Muslim content on his social media.
All right, well, in a hurry, that's the only news story that I could find, but I'm sure there are other news outlets that are talking about that too. It's happening over and over again when we see that it's so easy, the soft belly. The far right-wing activists have found the soft belly of Muslims, so to speak. And I think in these rioters, there were like 300 rioters max. Some people have quoted 300, some people have said 100. So let's just say maybe 300 or 400 rioters in Sweden that came out protesting. And then they started attacking the police, burnt cars, and burnt a few buildings down. We noticed a similar behavior in India, in Bangalore, a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, where a Muslim. Now, again, when I say a Muslim, obviously I'm not saying that all Muslims are like that, and that's why I pointed out there were 300 people. You get my point. When a Muslim made cartoons of a Hindu deity called Durga Ma. For some reason, I've noticed Hindus react on Durga Ma more aggressively than they react on other deities, for instance. But it was a sexualized image. Again, I don't care about that. And I think maybe 50 years ago, Hindus would not have cared about it as much either, 20 years ago. But now they are also becoming Islamized in a sense that, okay, well, you make fun of our Hindu goddesses, but when we say anything, even we don't make fun, we just criticize Islam, you just burn our cities down. So anyway, so there was a Muslim guy who made fun of a Hindu goddess. In a response, a Hindu responded with a cartoon of Muhammad sitting with a girl, a man sitting with a girl on his lap, and portraying somehow that this is a 52-year-old Muhammad and 9-year-old Aisha. And then we all know what happened. And they only showed that little bit where that Hindu had reacted that way. And then, I don't know, however many buildings were burned, the city was turned upside down, and a few people died as well. And now this right-wing activist, he burnt the Quran. And before that, something else had been happening as well, just on Twitter, where between Muhammad Hijab, Apostate Prophet, David Wood, etc., where Muhammad Hijab had been attacking again. Muhammad Hijab had been attacking the wives of these Islam critics, calling them Islamophobes, whores, and all kinds of drawing sexual imagery. And then Apostate Prophet and David Wood reacted by eating the Quran. Also, there was a Twitter meltdown for a couple of days, and Muhammad Hijab ended up backing down and is like, okay, all right, this is not Islam. This is not what Islam teaches us, even though he had quoted an incident where Muhammad's first caliph, Abu Bakr, had told one of his opponents to go and suck the clitoris of Alat, which was a goddess at that time, a deity at that time of the pagan Arabs. And he was saying that, okay, it's okay for us to curse the mothers and family members or loved ones of people. But he backed away from it. He said, no, that's not going to happen. But then a lot of us ex-Muslims, I found there was a solid consistency on that fact that, okay, it's okay. It's not as bad. We know that this is a soft belly. We know this is provocation. This is triggering them. But this is, again, by our worldview, it's no big deal. You can burn my book. You can burn the Bible. You can burn Manusmriti. You can do whatever you want. The rest of the people don't act that way, but Muslims do react in a certain way. So we know that. So this right-wing activist, he did that on purpose. He did that to provoke them. Again, if these mindless Neanderthals were any sensible creatures or living in the 21st century in a civilized country, there were so many other ways to protest. There were ways to protest, lodge a police complaint against him, make an online petition, stand up, all of that. No, they didn't do any of that. They turned up, started burning the city. They play right in the hands of these right-wing activists. And they say, okay, that's so easy. Who is to stop a far right-wing activist next week doing the same thing in Norway or Belgium or in London? Who's there to stop them? No one. I think this is exactly your playing. What the worst thing is that these Muslims will eventually back down. And what the worst thing from their point of view, what's going to happen is that even Muslims are going to get desensitized. They'll be like, yeah, okay, well, we can't burn the city now. We can't do anything. I guess it's okay. And I guess that's the point that ex-Muslims make. Ex-Muslims don't do it. Or Islam critics, most of the Islam critics that I'm familiar with, they don't do it to provoke them. They do it to normalize it, that they will get desensitized. That's one way of dealing with that. But the right-wing activists, they do that to provoke them. And they get provoked. But it's not winning any. Neither one of those two are actually going to win. But the saddest thing that happens out of these things is that otherwise liberal Westerners, when they see these images of the buildings burning, the police being attacked by refugees or by people who just came to the country, some of them might have been born and raised there. But no, that's not the image that people get. People get, oh, these must be refugees, or these must be first-generation migrants. Stop immigration. Stop taking refugees. And the worst thing that's going to happen out of that is those people in the middle, those sensible Western liberals, they are pushed towards right wing. And this is, and I'm not giving a theory that is so far advanced into the future. No, we've seen that Angela Merkel's popularity has been going down, a bleeding heart leftist, and a Nazi sympathizer has become the second largest party in Germany. We've seen right-wing parties, well, right-wing, not, I wouldn't say far-right, but right-wing parties, conservative parties in Italy, in Spain. Poland has gone even worse, but Poland was never a liberalized country anyway to begin with. But this is happening everywhere. And that's going to keep happening. And what's going to happen, we're going to collectively lose sensible left-wing governments. And again, I don't know whether I should say call them sensible or not. Is it Angela Merkel, was Angela Merkel sensible when she decided to take 2 million refugees? Just let them in. We don't know what's coming in. And then what happened? We saw. Again, it might be a very small percentage of people. But here's the key point. I looked through Twitter yesterday, Sweden riots. And I was looking, I was hoping, please, someone other than Majid Nawaz or Imam Tawhidi. I don't know whether they have tweeted or not either. But if they haven't, we can cut them slack. We know what their position would be. They would be condemning them. I was hoping that I would find someone, some prominent Muslim, saying that, oh, we condemn this. But guess what I found? There was nothing from any major Muslim. But what I found was there was this guy who's some major prominent Indian journalist or something. He had a blue tick next to him. Okay, so I have a lot of Indian followers, and maybe they can leave in the comments that who this guy is. This guy, Salman Nizami, this was the most popular tweet under the hashtag Sweden riots. And he said, strongly condemn. I'm like, oh, thank you. All right, strongly condemn what's happening in Sweden. No, strongly condemn the deliberate desecration of the Holy Quran in Sweden. Such a reprehensible act could only be the work of extremists and is evidently designed to provoke dissent and discord among communities and people across the world. This fanatic must be punished. Maintain peace. What about strongly condemning this? Or this? Or this? Or this? What about condemning this? No, not a word. So what happened to condemning this? Nothing. They didn't condemn it. He's condemning. He's worried about a worthless piece of paper. Fair enough. These guys hold it very dear, but do they hold them more dear to other human life or the livelihoods of other people? Clearly, they do. This is why when I went to Europe, I gave a couple of speeches, one in Berlin and Norway. This is what I said. Fair enough, people have their own worldviews. But we, or Western world, have a responsibility towards its own people as well. West wasn't like this to begin with. West liberalized. They separated church from the state's affairs. They did that on purpose. And they have their own story. Hundreds of years. So many people died, persecuted by the church. But that's where they are. So they have a responsibility to preserve their values, their Western liberal values, where human life is above everything, an individual's life is above everything. Sacred texts, there are no sacred texts. Beliefs are not important. They're not worth more than human life. But if someone comes to a Western country, fair enough, you believe in some mythical deity, sure, you're allowed to do it, but you cannot. The moment your beliefs overlap with Western values, that's when there's a problem. And I reckon those people should be deported. I reckon these people should be in prison and these people should be deported. But people like this guy have no shame. He would not condemn them. And he's just openly condoning their behavior. And, again, going back to it, what this does, it pushes normal people in the middle, people who are sensible, liberals sitting in the center. They think, okay, we should have immigration, controlled immigration, but then they see it goes the other way and we see negative results. As I said at the start, there were 300 rioters. Sweden's population is, I think, 4% Muslims, and you say 2% would be males. Actually, even less than that, because there'll be some women and children in that 4% as well. So only 300 people turned up. But again, where are the other people who are not condemning that attack? You know why they're not condemning it? Because deep down inside, they're happy. They're like, yeah, I wouldn't do it. That Muslim wouldn't do it. But he's happy that, yeah, good on you, boys. Well done. Well done, mate. You did what I didn't have the courage to do so. You've done it. Well done. They desecrated our Quran. Burn Sweden down. Burn it down. That's what they're thinking. It shows that. It doesn't hurt for Yasir Qadhi, Shabir Ali, even this Mo the Broomhead, Muhammad Hijab, Ali Dawa. These guys should have tweeted. They didn't. What they did instead, I was trying to find Yasir Qadhi's opinion on that. He had blocked me. They're more concerned about our critique of Islam than they're considering the lives of Muslims themselves. Because what is this going to attract? This is going to attract more negative publicity of Muslims. And I think they've done well for a limited amount of time in PR. They successfully developed this snake oil of Islamophobia, and it's sold to certain sectors. All of these people, these woke people, when I privately debate with them, within 3 or 4 comments, they have no comebacks left. And they're like, yeah, well, okay, makes sense, whatnot. Because there's a clear problem. These woke people talk against Christianity, conservatism, holy cows, books, and they complain about those things. LGBTQ rights, but then they support Islam. They're not supporting Muslims, they're supporting Islam. And they don't, I think, to be honest, this woke class is so stupid. They don't even know the difference between Islam and Muslim. They don't know the difference. I understand Muslims tend to tie their identity with Islam. That's why they talk like that. They feel attacked when somebody attacks Islam. Even people like Muhammad Hijab, they call them Islamophobe if someone is criticizing Islam, and then with the same sentence they go anti-Muslim bigots as well. They label them together. But fair enough, people like Muhammad Hijab, they're dishonest people. Their survival relies on muddying the water, making the discourse as unclear as possible, and somehow get away with it. This folk class, they have no idea what they're doing. But this is going to be, things like these are going to happen more. And look what happens. People, it gives them an opportunity to make cartoons like this. And, you know, it's like Sweden. Hey, humanity first, let the migrants come in. And then they say, oh, let's burn Sweden down, Islam first. People don't realize that. I think these woke liberals think that these people, Muslims, some Muslims, most Muslims have similar attitude towards society and religion as they have as Westerners. They don't. Even if you ask a standard Pakistani, who are you? He would say, I am a Muslim first, and then I'm a Pakistani. They don't even love their own country more than they love this doctrine, the 7th century doctrine exported from the deserts of Arabia. They don't. And I understand that there's a confusion in their own minds as well. They don't realize what they actually believe in. But when something as charged up as desecration of the Quran happens, that's it. I'm a Muslim bell rings in their head, and they go for it. So anyway, so that's very sad that no major Muslim figure has come out and said anything condemning that.
To help me produce more videos like these, support me on Patreon or PayPal.